Today, I want to talk about the struggles of day trading. What is it like to be a day trader, and what do we struggle with the most? We're going to talk about some of the top struggles of being a day trader in 2023. Let's get into it, my friends. You know, all I need to do is find a strategy. I need to go in, I need to get out, make money, and then blah, blah, blah. I'm going to get rich. I teach you a strategy, and you could try to replicate that strategy over and over and over. The problem is, but there's a problem with this idea of just simply finding a strategy and then replicating it. Problem is, everyone thinks a little bit differently. Well, probably a lot of it differently. Everyone's got different ideas, different emotions, different feelings, different everything. Just going and finding a strategy and then copying it and then replicating it over and over, it's just not that simple. I've tried. I've been day trading now for almost 7 years, a little over 7 years actually. I've tried every possible thing, you know, trying to do this, trying to trade that, trying to trade options, trying to trade penny stocks, trying to trade everything. I've done it all. And it doesn't matter what you trade. It doesn't matter what your strategy is. At the end of the day, the emotions, the struggle are still the same, right? That sounds kind of like, what? What do you mean, Patrick? It's a struggle to be a day trader. And when I say it's a struggle, the struggle is basically fighting yourself to do a couple different things, to know when not to trade, to know when not to FOMO, to know when to cut off a loser, to know when it's time to walk away. All of these things are struggles that we battle with as day traders. And even me, somebody that has found, you know, I don't want to say I'm like the best day trader in the world, but I've found an edge, right? I found an edge in the market, and I'm pretty on it. I feel like, you know, compared to most traders out there, I still have trouble with emotion. I still have trouble taking profit, all these different things that I need to be able to do. My strategy gets me into the trade. My emotion, my overall thought process, how I manage the trade, that's what's going to make me or break me, right? It's one thing to get into a trade. It's another thing to know when to take profit. It's another thing to know when to cut it off. It's another thing to know when to walk away. And this is like a real big struggle because, first off, how many times have you had like a really good morning? I've talked about this a lot. People have really profitable mornings. They make a couple $1,000s, whatever it is. They're like, man, I'm on fire. I'm killing it. I'm making so much money right now. And then what do? They end up giving back all those profits during the lunchtime, and then they battle the afternoon. And before they know it, they're in the red on the day. I've done it. You've done it. Everyone's done this. So I know it's a problem, and that's an emotional connection to the profit, the P&L. And that's also a big issue because you're struggling with the fact of like, okay, at one point today, I was up $1,000. I took a bad trade, and now I'm only up $500. So you have this like goalpost where you're like, I want to get back to $1,000, right? I want to get back to that $1,000 point because I was already there. I was already up $1,000. Why am I down 500 now? And that right there is a struggle. Knowing that you were up $1,000 and then taking a loser, you're down 500 now, or you're still up 500, whatever. And then now you have to basically like, okay, do I walk away with $500 in profit, or do I try to get back to 1,000? If I try to get back to 1,000, I'm taking more risk, and I might end up losing the 500 that I've already made. And this is a very, very real struggle. I've struggled with this all the time because I'll have days where I'm up like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on the day. And I'm like, okay, if I take one more trade, I might lose 3,000. It's like, do I need to put on more risk? Do I really need to? Do I need to struggle more? Do I need to battle this? Should I walk away? And that's like the really hard part as well, is knowing when to walk away. Like knowing that if I make $2,000 or $3,000 a day, I can be very profitable over a long term. Like, do I need to make $10,000 every day, all day, every day? No, I don't. Like, to really get to that point where I want to be, I don't need to make $10,000 every day. Now, I would love to make $10,000 every day, but I don't have to do that to hit some type of goalpost that I've created in my brain, in my mind, my emotions of like, I need to make this amount of money so I can get rich. I need to do this, right? We create these P&L goals based on what? Like, what is that based on? Like, Patrick WIeland, I want to make $10,000 a day. Like, where did that number come from? Where did that number come from? Other than the fact of like that I've done it. So it's like, but in general, like, where did that number actually come from? And a lot of it just comes from me being greedy, me wanting it, me emotionally being like, I want $1 million a year. I want this. I want to hit those P&L goals. But there are going to be days where the market's just not going to give you the setups. The market's not going to give you those good setups to make $10,000, right? The market's going to be like, I would say less than 50% of the time, the market's not going to give you A++ setups. Yesterday, we had an amazing day in the market. And it was funny because it was like almost like you could have easily just bought it and sold it, bought and sold and made money. You could have closed your eyes, you could have bought, you could have sold, and you would have made money. And then, you know, today could be totally different. Today could be choppy. Today could just be the opposite of that. It's a struggle to know that not every day is going to be hot. Not every day is going to be a massive profit day. Not every day is going to give you opportunities to make that profit. So if you just have these goals set where you're like, I want to make a certain amount of money every day, well, you're just really kind of going into the trading day already with this idea like, okay, today I want to make $10,000. Well, what if there aren't any good setups, Patrick? What should I do? Should I trade the bad setups to try to hit that $10,000 goal? Or should I not trade the setups? I was actually talking to a guy on Instagram recently. He hit me up. He's like, Patrick, you know, I've been having trouble. I've been buying the breakouts, but then I don't take profit. I get stopped out. I'm like, well, you know, like, what's, you know, where's your stops at? We talked about the stops a little bit. We're like, okay, you know, think about this, think about that, you know, move your stop, maybe have a little bit better stops, be a little bit more patient on the entries. But it was funny because this was on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, every breakout pretty much worked beautifully on the NASDAQ. And it was funny because on Wednesday, he hit me up. He's like, Patrick, I had 6 winners today. I had 6 winners. So like I told him, I'm like, right there proves to you that it's not your strategy. It's not you in terms of like knowing when to get in, get out. It's the fact of like, there are those days where the breakouts just aren't going to work on the NASDAQ or the ES. They're not going to work, right? It's just going to be choppy. The market's not moving the way we want it to move. And then a day like yesterday on Wednesday, the market moves. We get those amazing setups and bam, bam, bam. It's like making money. It's simple. It's easy. So I think you really got to ask yourself, at the end of the day, like, is it you? Is it your strategy that's having problems? Or is it just that the market's not giving you the setups that you need and you're taking bad setups? And this is a big issue for a lot of people. They take bad setups. And then when they take bad setups, they then try to tell themselves like, well, you know, my strategy's broken. Like there's something wrong with my strategy. Like I need to change my strategy because, you know, I took all these setups and I didn't make any money today. But then if you really look back at the setups, you're like, well, these weren't good setups. The market wasn't trending. The market was choppy. Like I was taking FOMO trades. You know, I was getting in at the wrong spot, putting my stop at the wrong spot. My strategy is not to trade this choppy action. My strategy is to trade when the market's trending. My strategy is to trade when the market's hot. Yesterday, perfect example of that. The day before, it's like you can see how when the market's hot, it's easy to make money. And then when the market's not hot, it's hard to make money because we try to jump into trades. We jump in, we jump out, we jump in, we jump out. And we do this over and over. And then we're like, man, I just can't figure it out. My strategy's broken. You know, just because you have one bad day, just because you have one red day does not mean your strategy is broken. It probably just means that the market wasn't giving you the setups and you were trying to force trades or whatever it is. So that's a massive struggle, right? The struggle of being able to identify when the market's not hot and not giving you good setups. Once you can identify that and you can stay out of the markets, it makes it a lot easier because then you're like, okay, hey, the market's not giving me my A+ setups. If I'm not getting my A+ setups, I don't want it. I don't want to trade it. So I'm going to be patient and I'm going to wait for those days when the market's hot, hot, hot. The problem is if you blow up your account on the bad day, and then the next day is a good day, you're either like trying to get back into a combine, you're trying to refund your account, whatever it is, you're going to miss out on that good day because you blew up on the bad day. The good day comes and now you're just like, oh my God, it's so easy. The market's going exactly like, oh, it's breaking out. It's doing everything I thought it would do. So you have to be able to, number one, understand that day trading really is a game of being consistent, showing up every day and having a game plan and following that game plan. Knowing when not to trade, right? The struggle of knowing when not to trade. When the market's not hot, we don't trade it. We don't trade the chop. We don't trade when the market's not moving. And that's all we're going to do. If we're consolidating, the market's chopping, we're staying out of it. It's easier said than done. I know it's easier said than done, but these are things that we struggle with. And then we got to struggle with this constant greed of wanting more, right? You make $1,000, your best day ever. And you're like, well, I made 1,000, so I might as well try to make, you know, $200,000 today. So you keep on trading, you end up losing, you end up going back down. Now you're trying to get back to that $1,000 target. You're trading your P&L. The emotions are real, and you blow up your account. You go into the red, whatever it is. I know this is a real deal. I know this is a struggle. So it's a question of like, at what point do you walk away, take your profits, and come back the next day? I think you got to be honest with yourself. You got to really ask yourself, like, hey, if I make a little bit of money today, if I'm happy with that, if I make $1,000, I'm totally fine. I'm walking away. I'm going to enjoy my life, right? I'm not going to sit around and think I can make more. I'm not going to keep pushing it. I'm going to take the setups. I'm going to make my $1,000 and I'm going to walk away. It's not to say that you should just stop at a certain number, but you really have to get to a point where you're like, I'm happy. I know that if I can just continuously do this every day, $1,000 here, $1,000 there, $1,000 here, there, I'll make $10,000 by the end of the month. But if I try to go for a $10,000 day when my biggest profit day ever has only been $1,000, well, there's a pretty good chance that I'm gonna end up losing and I'm gonna go on tilt or whatever it is. So you really gotta really understand this struggle and know that this struggle is real, right? It's a real struggle. So these are all some very common issues, some very common struggles for day traders. I think at the end of the day, you really gotta just kind of talk to yourself and come up with some rules for yourself. Like, all right, look, like this is what I want to do. I'm going to follow the strategy. I'm going to make a little bit of money. I'm going to walk away, whatever it is. Like, you got to come up with your own rules and you got to know your own emotions. Everybody is going to be different. Everyone's got different emotions. Everyone's got different struggles. Everyone's got different goals. Everyone's got different account sizes, right? Like, everyone's got different things to worry about. So you can't just simply go and find a strategy and just copy some guy on the internet. You got to like kind of talk to yourself and come up with a solid game plan that's going to work with your overall abilities and your overall emotion, right? Understanding your emotion is the number one rule. Really, like you need to understand your emotions. You need to understand yourself, understand your personality, and know like what is going to make you a better day trader. What can you focus on personally to make sure that you're doing what you need to do every day? For me, I go to the gym, I work out, I do all these things outside of trading because it helps me with my trading. Maybe you don't need to work out to be good at trading, but for me personally, like I'm doing things outside of trading to make me better at trading. So find those things, work on the struggles. We're all in this together. We're all struggling together, my friends. If you haven't already hit that like button, subscribe button, you know what to do. Let's go.